never doubt your life experience. It is more valuable than you ever will realize. What specifically scares you about coaching? Being in progress actually makes you more freaking relatable. Hey, friend. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Wellness Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Amber Shaw, and thank you, as always, for being here with me. Recently, I've been having more conversations with divorced single moms on Instagram. And actually, if you don't follow me over Instagram, head over to Instagram. I'm at MS Amber Shaw. That's Ms. Amber Shaw. This is my platform where I am hanging out, communicating, and chatting with you in the DMs, and also where I'm sharing lots of awesome content with you guys. But something that keeps coming in these conversations, and I really want to take a few minutes to address it. And as you guys know, or if you're new to the show, you may not know, sorry, you guys watching on YouTube, you can see this is Abby, Golden Doodle, and she is so needy. So we're just going to have to get her out of the frame here. She'll come and visit every now and again. But as you guys know, or if you're new to me, you may not realize that what I do in my coaching business is I helped divorced moms to start and grow their online coaching businesses. And, you know, there are a lot of women that come to me through Instagram that are going through divorce because a lot of my content is connecting with women and sharing my experience about divorce. But there's a lot of women coming out of divorce that are, you know, maybe never even thought about starting a coaching company. I can tell you when I first went through divorce, you know, financial stability and achieving that financial independence was super important to me, but it took me a minute to get to the place where I was like, okay, could use what I've learned here. You know, I want to start a side hustle. I want to start a coaching business, just see where it goes, right? But there's a lot of women that come to me and are like, okay, like I see you doing it and it looks awesome. I would love to have that freedom and autonomy and just a flexible schedule and extra money and all the things, but like, I don't feel like I'm qualified to coach. And listen, I want to tell you, I get it. Like I really, really get it. I felt that way too. I can remember sitting at my kitchen table after my own divorce, scrolling through social media, like when I first started really wanting to lean into the coaching. This was actually before I was divorced because I actually started my company in the middle of my separation. And this is when I kind of got that bug in my ear, like, God, everything that I've gone through in my divorce can't be in vain. I have to share what I have learned in some form or capacity to help other women. And I just remember though, like scrolling through social media and thinking like, okay, yeah. And at the time I didn't even know that I wanted to help women in the divorce space because I actually was so in it with my own stuff that that wasn't really on my radar. I knew I wanted to help women. So I was kind of exploring maybe the health and fitness realm, which is what led me to building my first online coaching company in the health and fitness space. But I remember thinking like, God, who the hell am I? Like, who am I to do this? Like, I'm still figuring out my own shit, right? Like there's no way, but I just knew, like, I didn't have the answers, but I just knew, and I couldn't shake this feeling like that was like in my body, like this burning desire that I was meant to help other women. But you know, I got to tell you, like that voice in my head, that negative Nancy voice telling me that I wasn't qualified enough, that I wasn't ready enough, that I wasn't together enough, like that was very loud. And I talk to women every day on my social media who feel the same way. And you're feeling that. If you've ever thought, maybe you've been listening to the show for a while, maybe you've been following my social media for a while, and you're starting to maybe think like, okay, well, wait a minute, maybe I could do this, but you still have that feeling, right? You still have that feeling of thinking you're not ready. Well, girl, this is exactly why you're here today. And this is why we need to have this conversation, because what I've learned both from my own journey and from helping hundreds of other divorced moms start their coaching, because what I've learned both in my own journey and from helping other divorced moms start their coaching businesses is that feeling unqualified, you know, it really has nothing to do with your actual abilities, but everything to do with the narrative that we tell ourselves, right? Like that little voice that is telling you can't do it, that creating that imposter syndrome, it has nothing to do with your ability to be, the fact that you're capable. It has everything to do though with these stories that we can tell ourselves. And I do want to normalize that too, because especially if you're coming out of divorce, those negative feelings, that lack of confidence, feeling beat down, all of those things like that can really, really surface when you go through a divorce. So today I want to spend a few minutes really breaking down why you're more qualified than you think and exactly what you need to do to move past these doubts and really start to make the impact that you want to make. So let's talk about first, what really makes you qualified to be an online coach? Well, number one, you may not realize this, girl, but as a mom, you're already a natural coach. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Like you're managing the household, you're juggling, multiple priorities. You're making, decisions on the fly every day. You're able to, pivot when things get hard. You're able to just figure shit out. Like as a divorced mom, right? When something goes wrong, like you don't necessarily have somebody you can turn to. You just got to figure it out on your own. So yeah, problem solving on the fly. Like you're used to navigating complex relationships. Hello, ex, right? So that is the first thing. Like your skills, I'm sure as a mom, you're probably a pretty good listener. You've probably had to learn to be a good communicator, not only just communicating with your kids, but also communicating with like your ex, or even if you're working a full-time job, I'm sure communication skills are something at this stage in your life that you've probably gotten pretty good at. Another thing that I want you to consider is that your divorce journey is actually your master's degree. It is your MBA. Now, that's not to say that if you decide to go into online coaching that you have to become a coach related to the divorce journey. I actually coach women all over the place, from health and fitness to organizers to, a physician who helps other physicians avoid burnout. Like it's all over the place, as far as niches for what I coach in. But I will tell you, the majority of the women that come to coach with me are women that have gone through divorce and are navigating. Now, notice how I didn't say have gotten to the other side, right? Because it is a process, but are navigating getting to the other side. And they feel this calling to share just what they've learned so far with other women. Like if you're listening to this and you've gone through divorce, divorce is absolutely one of the most difficult things you've ever had to go through in your life. And if you get through it without losing your effing mind, it changes you, right? And it changes you to the point where you're like, damn, I don't ever want another. I wish I knew back then what I know now. And you never want another woman to have to navigate it alone. And this is why there's so many women coming out of divorce are like, damn, I got a story to share. I went through some shit and I know that there's somebody out there that can benefit from what I've gone through. And so, I really want you to lean in and remember the fact that you've survived one of life's biggest transitions. You've had to rebuild your life from scratch. You have developed an emotional intelligence that you may not have had if you had not gone through divorce. You've probably found an inner strength that you never knew you've had. You've had to learn to advocate for yourself, and you have gained some like real world wisdom that money can't buy, that no certification can give you, that no, degree can give you. This is real. This is like street cred. Okay. And I don't know about you, but if I am working with somebody, I want to work with somebody. If I want to hire a coach, I'm going to hire somebody who's been through the trenches and who's done what I'm trying to do, not somebody who just learned it from a book. So never doubt your life experience. It is more valuable than you ever will realize. The third thing that I want to say, if you're still not picking up what I'm putting down and you need some more convincing that you're more qualified to coach, you're living proof of resilience. Girl, you have bounced back from rock bottom. I know, even if your divorce was amicable, girl, we have all reached that place in our divorce where we feel like we have hit rock bottom. You have really, even if you're still working on it, you are working on creating a new normal for your kids, which is hard. You've had to figure out finances on your own. I can tell you, like as an entrepreneur, learning how to be a CFO is very challenging, but taking this new role as a divorced single mom, you've had to figure out finances. You've also built new support systems and you've transformed your challenges into strength. And the last one that I want to share with you, again, still, if you've had that bug, and that thought, but you've been smacked down by your own fear, that you've had that bug that you do want to coach, but you've been smacked down to think that you can't. Girl, I want you to know you've already done so much of the work, right? Like I'm sure that your friends come to you for advice, right? Friends who are going through divorce, do they not come to you for advice, right? You've probably learned from some of your mistakes, right? You understand this emotional journey and what it really takes to navigate it. You're living proof by really just taking care of yourself and really trying to create a new normal that you are healing every single day. You really do also speak the language of starting over. All right, so now hopefully you are feeling a little bit more inspired that you are more qualified than you think to do this. I really would just want you also to remember that, being in progress actually makes you more freaking relatable. I know so many women have like a hang up of like, oh my gosh, well, like I'm not to the other side of this. And so how could I coach somebody else? I mean, this is what every new coach feels. I felt it when I first started going as well. And, I think that when you are in progress, right? Like when you are still working through things, number one, you're more relatable because you remember exactly how it feels, right? Number two, you really do understand the real struggles, and not just in theory, but you understand the day-to-day challenges. And this really does, I think, by you being able to authentically share your story, I know a lot of coaches that actually are navigating it in real time, or what they're sharing on their social media is where they are a few steps ahead, right? So if they are a few steps ahead, they are sharing kind of their journey of just a few steps behind them, but it doesn't mean you have to be to the other side. And I think that when you're still navigating, it really proves that perfect is not required for progress. It makes, clients feel that they are safe, that when being imperfect is okay, and it's safe to be imperfect. So I hope that you are able to really start to let go of this idea that if you want to help somebody, you have to be like 100% healed. First of all, there's no such thing as like 100% healed. When you start doing the healing work, you just start peeling back the layers, right? And you discover new things you want to heal and work on. That is what personal development is. That's the blessing and the curse of personal development. But I just really want you to let that go, which is so damn important. If you really have the burning desire to help somebody, it is about just being a few steps ahead of them. So as we wrap up, I want to share with you guys 3 action steps. Like if you are still having a little bit of imposter syndrome, if you're still having a little bit of imposter syndrome, still really struggling with confidence, that you could, with the right mentor, with the right strategy and plan, right? That if you're still struggling to believe that you are capable to do this, I want to just share with you quickly 3 steps to break down imposter syndrome. But before I do that, listen, if what I'm talking about is really hitting with you, I want you guys to sign up for my event that's actually happening tomorrow night. It's not too late to jump in. This is Divorced to Dollars. This is a free 2-part training. I'm going to be doing the training on the 21st and the 23rd. So just this week, Tuesday and Thursday. This is an absolutely free training where I'm going to be breaking down my step-by-step approach to creating an online coaching business from scratch. I'm talking like if you had no followers, no audience, no idea what you'd even coach on, no idea like what your program would be about. You just have the desire to help somebody else and use your experience and your expertise to do that, then this is for you. I'm going to be breaking down how to identify your ideal client, right? How to really nail your niche. We're going to be walking through how to create your first coaching program. And we're also going to be diving deep into what we're talking about today of building your confidence, letting go of imposter syndrome so that you can walk away, from this event having a whole renewed confidence and a strategy and a game plan for how to start your coaching business. So just to, again, to give you some 3 action steps. So what I was going to say too, you guys can go to the link in the show notes and grab that and sign up. Again, remember, it's absolutely free. And if you can't make it, it will be recorded. However, I highly, highly would encourage you to show up live. I'm going to be doing show up bonuses. I'm going to be also doing real in-time coaching, right? Like live coaching with me for those that are on the call, and so much more. So it's really to your benefit to just show up. Also, we all know when you show up, you're on the hook, right? You're more likely to get more out of it when you show up live. So back to these 3 action steps. So I would say that the first one is just to identify your fears. And I want to share with you some journal prompts that you could jot down in order to first identify your fears. And again, these are the 3 steps to breaking through imposter syndrome. So the first one is write down all of your I'm not qualified thoughts. Just do a brain dump and jot them down. The second thing is, what specifically scares you about coaching? Call it out, write it down, nail it. What specifically scares you about coaching? The next one, what's the worst that could happen if you start? Like, what's the worst? Like, what's the worst that could happen if you show up if you come to Divorce to Dollars? What's the worst that could happen, right? At least you'd maybe even know like whether or not this is for you or not for you. And if it's not for you, you can pursue another avenue, right? So what's the worst that could happen? Where do these fears come from? Is the next one. Where do these fears come from? And what evidence do you have that these fears are true? What evidence do you have that these fears are true? Is there evidence of it that you're not capable? Or is this just your ego telling you? Is this just fear? Is this just imposter syndrome? Or is there evidence? Have you actually coached and you failed? Answer's probably not, right? So what's the evidence that this is true? The second step is really to reframe each fear. So I'll give you a couple examples here. So the first one, maybe the fear is, I don't have it all figured out. Like, I don't even know what to do here. Well, look, like nobody has it all figured out. Okay. Like your journey, as we said, is what makes you more relatable. You're definitely qualified by your experience. And I want you to remember that it is about progress over perfection. Another one to maybe reframe is like, oh my gosh, well, there's so many coaches out there. Why would somebody listen to me? And what I really want you to remember is, look, no one has your unique story. That's what makes you uniquely you. Now, people are going to identify and resonate with pieces of your story, but that's what makes you uniquely you. Somebody needs to hear it from you. And there really is room for everyone. You know, the online space can feel so huge and like there's so many people doing it, but I promise, like, the difference is your unique special sauce, because not everybody connects with everybody. Like, what is unique? There's a million podcasts out there, but obviously you're listening today because on some level you connect with me, right? There's definitely other podcasters that do what I do, right? But you are connecting with me. So there's room for everyone. The last thing that I want you to do in creating or letting go of some imposter syndrome is create your evidence bank. What I mean by that is I want you to write down like 10 things that you've overcome, 10 things that you are proud of. What have you overcome in your life? And I want you to write down 5 pieces of advice you would give somebody that is going through each one of those things, right? So if you're listing your 10 things you've overcome, which each of those things, what's 5 pieces of advice you would give for those 10 things? Now, that's a lot of advice, but I'm telling you, I bet you could come up with 5 nuggets for each of those 10 things. And the next thing I want you to do is document 3 different times that somebody's come to you for support. I want you to start owning that people actually do come to you for support and that you're good at it, right? Note any transformations that you've achieved, right? And just really start to think back, like what you've accomplished. This is how, when you start to have these imposter syndrome, these imposter feelings, this imposter syndrome, this is how you start to break free. I want you to reference this evidence bank and remind yourself that those feelings that you have that you can't do it, that doesn't mean that it's a reality. It's just the negative talk going on in your head. So again, if this is hitting you guys, I want you to come to Divorce to Dollars. Even if you're, like I said, even if you're just curious of what it would be like to start your own coaching business, come to this event. It's absolutely free. What do you have to lose? Thanks for listening to me today with me. Thanks for being here to me and listening to me, but thanks for being with me today. And I'll catch you on the next one.